with that, we're going to go right into our health fireside chat. I'm really looking forward to this. And as we can see, Jurgen and Otley and Robert come online here with their video. One thing that was so striking about this is when we were doing our introductions or our prep for this, I was joking with our team, I'm not gonna have any role here. I just said, do you guys want to chat about innovation? And they pretty much just talked for 30 minutes. There's so much fantastic content to go through. And all three of them really know what they're doing. They really understand the space, and they've been very successful in the space. And so what we're going to be doing over the next 30 minutes is go through, first we're going to get a word on the vaccine, since I think that's the elephant in the room. And then we're going to be having three main sections broken into how to have a successful pilot opportunity. Beginning the partnership, what does it take to be, how do you have a successful beginning? What is that drive to make it? How do you set yourself up for success? Then the second section, during the pilot, how do you track success? How do you make sure that you're being successful? And then that third section, post-pilot, how can you make sure that it doesn't stop with the pilot, that you're able to expand from the pilot to really have the best impact possible? And I couldn't think of a better view than the people that we're going to get than right now, the team from Pfizer, as well as Otley from SidekickHealth. And so with that, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to go from left to right on my screen. Jürgen, if you'd like to start us off.
Yeah, hello, and my name is Jürgen. Thanks for having me, and I'm really excited to be part of this session. I watched in some sessions. I'm really learned a lot already, and I'm more than happy, I think, to learn and connect with so many innovative guys, and hopefully we will continue with the collaboration. So I think what is really important, we at Pfizer really believe in partnerships with innovative thought leaders that will help us really to achieve one of our 5 key goals that we have in Pfizer, which is to win the digital race in pharma. And our partnership with Sidekick is really a perfect fit for that, especially when it comes to one of the key areas that says we would like really to enhance health outcomes and patient experience, and it's exactly what we are trying to achieve in our partnership with Sidekick.
Amazing. Thank you, Jürgen. Those are fantastic words. With that, let's go over to Robert.
Yeah, hi everyone. Rob Day. I look after inflammation and immunology within Pfizer across Western Europe, which is a group of 15 countries in Europe. And I think we're, probably unique in that space, in that we have, a setup which, of course, includes sales, marketing, account management, as you normally find, but you also have a group, a patient solutions team here who are kind of passionate about improving outcomes for patients. And I think, we'll come on to talk a little bit about that later on.
Yes, we will. Thank you. And Otley, please.
Yeah, hey, nice to be back. We were presenting at the last summit exactly about a year ago, so it's wonderful to be back in this capacity. My name is Atle Knudsen. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Sidekick. It's kind of interesting to be here talking about this, and Sidekick for me puts a lot of things in perspective. My background is in medical devices, in fintech, consumer applications, and in consulting. So a lot of these things, they've come together for me at Sidekick. Yeah, it's fantastic to be back, and what a great opportunity both to contribute back to the community at Plug and Play, and to talk a little bit about kind of, the journey that we're on with Pfizer. Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. What a fantastic story it has been. Me and Alvin and myself gave you the Innovation Award in person at our last expo. For those who don't know, SidekickHealth won the Innovation Award from presenting during our batch 9 last year. And since then, I don't think you can be more successful. They've obviously had this incredible partnership with Pfizer that's going fantastic, as well as raised a $20.8 million Series A round. So very excited to see who's going to win the Innovation Award this year and where they will go with that. With that, Rob, I believe you wanted to say a couple words on the vaccine.
Well, yeah, it's impossible actually to talk to anybody in Pfizer without at least spending a couple of minutes on the vaccine at the moment, and that's true with almost everybody I speak to as well. So I'm not a I'm not a vaccines expert at all, so I can't give you lots of detail about the science and progress that's not already been published, and there's been a lot that's been published, of course. But when Albert Bourla, our boss, the CEO, talks about this, it's all about mission. Ours is to bring breakthroughs that change patients' lives. It's something that we're all guided by, and so in February when we saw the virus spiraling out of control through Asia and Europe and the rest of the world. I know kind of Albert's view was that we've got this scale, within Pfizer, we've got this huge experience in vaccine development. We've got new technology. We're partnering on in mRNA vaccine development, and we've got this manufacturing capacity and experience as well, which is kind of second to none probably in the pharmaceutical industry. So if it wasn't going to be us who's going to develop a solution to this problem before the next wave really kicked in the winter of 2020, then who would it be? If not us, then who? So then for the last 7 months, it's been all systems go. So every ounce of ability and agility and innovation, taking all the same steps and checks that we'd normally take, but often in new ways, in parallel. So for example, we started manufacturing the scale up well before we knew whether the vaccines worked. We've been producing quantities in manufacturing sites for over a month now, to ensure we've got as many doses as possible, available, before the holidays. So we're where we are now. It looks pretty good. I've had many proud moments working for Pfizer. I think this one has got to be many, and this has got to be the proudest. It's been absolutely about vision, determination, anticipating barriers, solving for them before they become a problem. Whether that's in clinical trial design or recruitment of patients or manufacturing, cold supply chain, and using technology there, and the list goes on. So I won't compare, the endeavour in developing a vaccine for this deadly virus around the world to the collaboration we have with Sidekick, but definitely some of the same mindsets, that contributed to that is contributing to the success of this partnership. In terms of anticipating problems as they, before they come up, having a shared, vision, and we've seen those. And absolutely those kind of same mindset with our partners in Sidekick as well. And I think that's what's really led to the successful collaboration that we've had.
Fantastic. I agree. I think across Pfizer, we've been so impressed by the level of innovation and sophistication that Pfizer has throughout. And so definitely being able to take those same lessons and apply them other areas is something that Pfizer does extremely well. It's at their core. And with that, speaking of that, I think that's a fantastic segue into that first section, beginning a partnership. How do you, before a partnership even begins and you're looking at it, how are you setting yourself up for success? What is that impetus to really start? And Jürgen, I'm going to start with you here. Speaking from Pfizer's perspective, what was your incentive internally to find a partner, and what were you looking for? And we talked about the pillars that we mentioned during your prep. I think now's a good time to be able to mention those as well.
Yeah, I think from a technology perspective, we see for some time now really an accelerated progress in health-related technologies. We see this, and we have talked about this earlier. AI, wearables, EHR, system integration, telemedicine, it's really growing with almost light speed. And what we see as well is, of course, that the user behavior is changing. So it's a significant increased acceptance from patients, all kind of users. If I take an example with my family, my kids with they are playing with technology. My parents close to 80 are doing the same already. And it's unbelievable. And I think this leads also to a whole new, whatever, market in innovation potential, really coming from technology players that are entering the healthcare environment. And we strongly believe that partnering with those innovative companies will really help us to accelerate, also to fulfill our goals. And to be honest, I think we live in a very complex environment, and the only way to succeed is really creating this kind of ecosystem with partners that then help us jointly to define the vision, to work together in partnership, and then hopefully with a joint vision shape the digital health for the future. And exactly this is what we are looking for partners, looking for ideas, new innovation, really to help to shape this ecosystem.
That makes a lot of sense. It's really important to be able to have that beginning knowledge to see where the market is going and understanding those user behavior changes. And Rob, you had some really fantastic notes about the business side from the larger corporate side. Can you speak on that, please?
Yeah, and maybe before I get into the details of that, I think one of the things that it's so important to have is you've got to be completely clear in your mind what you want from a partnership right from the start. This is not this is not about doing something interesting or working with some people that you like, or startup tourism. This is about having a very clear objective about what you want to achieve, and knowing that you can't achieve it yourself, and going out and finding somebody that can really help you to achieve it has got a shared agenda. So for us, I think it was pretty clear. It goes back to the breakthroughs that I was talking about before, bringing breakthroughs to patients to improve their lives. And what that means is, measurably improving lives means improving patient outcomes. Most physicians, I think, and the public think about our role in a couple of ways. One of which is, absolutely focused on outcomes, which is the investment in science and medical discovery to bring new medicines to the market to people who can benefit from them. And that is the role of our kind of scientific organization. And then there's the commercial role, which we also play. And that role is ensuring that we can communicate that data to healthcare professionals so that they know when to use the medicine in the most appropriate way. And the way that we do that in the commercial side of the organization is by hiring and training professional scientific sales teams that communicate that data to doctors at a time that's convenient for them, in a hospital for environment or in their office. And that's still incredibly important. That's never not going to be an important thing for us to do. But there are also ways that physicians can get that data, which isn't through that route. These days, through access to internet or other means. And doctors are increasingly busy with aging populations, more patients, more administration. They're increasingly time poor. And physicians are looking for other things from us, as well as sharing the data that we've generated. And the thing that, one of the things that doctors are really looking for is not just providing a medicine, but also helping the patient to make better health choices so they can improve their outcomes. We started working with Sidekick in a field which is ulcerative colitis, and this is a terrible disease. You lose, in a flare, you can lose control of your bowels. You can be in the toilet 20-30 times in a day. You're experiencing significant pain. You're certainly losing independence. It has impact on your mental health as well, and your confidence and your ability to lead a normal life. all of that can be affected by medicine, but it can also be affected by health choices that you can make. And doctors feel, it's quite difficult for them to do that with one interaction between the nurse and the patient every 3 months. So, we knew a lot about that. We'd done a lot of research in that area. We understood where the unmet needs were, but the question for us was, can we deliver positive behavioral change alongside our medicine? Can we improve the outcomes? And through that, give greater confidence in our package of support, the medicines and the solutions when physicians use our medicines. And if that could give them greater confidence, that could become part of our new operating model, where we as a company could be seen less of a supplier and more of a partner in better health and healthcare, which for us is massive. So back to the point, the incentive for going outside to find a partner was, we know we didn't have that expertise in behavioral science, moving patients' behaviors, and that was information or expertise we didn't have. And so we went out to see where we could find it, and who had a company that had a shared agenda, could act fast. And I think in fact in Sidekick we found that unique combination.
And that's a great segue, Otley. For you, is from your perspective, and I think this is very valuable to all of the startups and potential startups in the room, is when you're talking about that, how did you set yourself up for success to receive this pilot? What was key for your company that helped you stand out from the competition? And if you want to give a brief intro to who Sidekick is and what you do, I think this is a good time for it.
Sure. Maybe just for 30 seconds first, I'd like to come back to a couple of the points that both Rob and Jürgen were mentioning. Kind of in the getting to know each other phase, I think it was pivotal for us to really feel and understand and see that, we have a partner in Pfizer that has a real interest in impacting outcomes. That is kind of almost everything, but there's another operational part to it, which is this commitment to problem solving, finding ways, iterating, making a partnership work, seeking inspiration from each other, even enjoying each other's companies. It sounds a little bit like a marriage, but it's because it is. It's what we're getting ourselves into. A little bit about Sidekick, just to set the stage. I mean, we are at heart a clinical outcome-driven organization. We're founded by medical doctors. We develop evidence-based, clinically validated treatments, and we just happen to deliver them digitally. We focus, as Rob and Jürgen were mentioning, on helping people improve their health behaviors, but we do this across multiple different therapeutic areas and always in a highly disease-specific context. So we're always addressing very differing and constantly, in a way, evolving needs and challenges that people are dealing with. It's a very dynamic context that we jointly work in with Pfizer. And kind of just on this topic of health and good health, I mean, medical care is important. The medications that kind of are in play in, for example, our partnership with Pfizer are fantastic, life-saving. Health behaviors are at least equally important. What we eat, how we exercise and stay fit, our mental health, our stress, our sleep, understanding your treatment, all of these different things, they play a massive, massive part as well. And kind of just to quantify the issue, only about 10 to 20% of people actually manage to do what their doctor tells them to do, which is all of these things. But there's a lot more to this. There's anxiety, depression, loss of confidence, there's shame, there's social determinants that are at play. There's a lot of different things that impact this ability to, do what we all know is good for us. And this is kind of where we work. We work to empower people, encourage effective self-management, treatment adherence, what we call to expand therapy. And this is why kind of the complementarity with Pfizer, not just in kind of the kind of therapies that we're providing, but in a lot of the different assets that we bring to the table, why this is so synergistic. And I think then specific to your question on how did we set ourselves up, I mean, kind of in the early stages, this was very much about understanding in a very specific context, again, in ulcerative colitis, how can we be relevant, how can we be on time, and how can we be always engaging? Because we know people don't want to be spoken to as patients. We know that people are dealing with low health literacy, low numeracy, in general, low motivation for change. So there's a lot of things that we have to address to really facilitate and help people to improve their health behaviors.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's so valuable to get your insights from that, from that different kind of perspective. And with that, let's go to the second section, which is when you're doing the pilot and you're in the middle of that pilot, making sure that the pilot itself is going to be successful. And Rob, I'm going to come to you with this one. How are you tracking success? How are you choosing which KPIs are the priority here?
Yeah. So I mean, we knew that it was very important for us to generate data, that this was a success. Jürgen and I are passionate about this, and Atli is equally passionate, but not everybody in the world is passionate about this. And so if we're going to be successful in demonstrating success sufficiently to scale it beyond the part of the world that I'm responsible for, then we're going to need to be clear on what we're trying to achieve and how we're going to track it. So yes. So what we did is we did something quite unusual. We took an approach like a clinical trial. So we launched our pilot in two countries, and we split those countries into two different groups. And we looked at the existing operating model that we had, which I explained before. And then in the other part of the country, we introduced a new role, patient outcome partner, who's responsible for implementing solutions with customers alongside the sales representative, the normal kind of marketing activity. We wanted to see whether in one part of the country, without the patient solutions, whether it's different from in the other part of the country with the patient solutions. So really like a hard, not randomized, but it's certainly kind of a controlled look at what we were trying to achieve. And the three things that we wanted to look at there was, pretty simple. One, is what we're doing really improving outcomes and experience for people? Does it improve our reputation amongst our customers? Is this actually what our customers want to see us do, or is it just what we think they want us to do? And then thirdly, does it really help us to deliver our business goals? Is there an operating model improvement within this activity? So that was really important for us. It's an old adage, in God we trust, in others, all others must bring data, right? You probably heard that before. And so, this is where we brought the data. And I think as a result of that, we've been able to scale pretty fast, and we're scaling now outside of the therapeutic area and outside of the part of the world that I control as a result of that.
I think one important aspect is really that we not just put some KPIs there and say, okay, let's think about how we measure at some point in time. I think we took a lot of time with the cross-functional teams, with medical, with the salespeople, with Sidekick, who's really specialists in data analyzing to understand what is it that we really need to measure, how can we then relate really to outcomes, what are parameters that we need to have, and then all understanding what is this and what is the impact based on these parameters that make it a success really helps us very easily to really understand what is going well, what is not going well, to really try fast, fail fast, but also then adopt in an agile way. because we all understand what we are going for.
Yeah, and I'm conscious of what I said originally. It sounded a bit theoretical, didn't it? But practically, what it means is, on a weekly basis, you've got a dashboard, and so you're looking at all of the parameters that you have available to us, which kind of measure those things. And as things change, like for example, if there's suddenly a global kind of pandemic and nobody can, have face-to-face conversations with doctors anymore, for example, then you're able to kind of look at the data. Have a conversation with those people who are kind of implementing the programs at a local level. We run it as an agile scrum, and we're able to kind of change things in the moment. And I think that's why we've, part of the reason why we've continued to be successful with this, while the world has turned upside down.
Definitely things that set you up for success. And with that, let's go to that third section. After the pilot, how do you set yourself up to have success once it's over? And so I'm going to come to Otley for this one. How are you setting yourself up to have success and to expand the pilot once it's completed from the startup side?
Yeah, I think kind of it starts almost with the end or the beginning line in mind. It's like you can't just design the pilot. You have to design the scale up. You have to design the operating model, the target end state, whatever you want to call it. You have to design the ambition that you want to jointly achieve, and then you work backwards to define the pilot. You use it to get smarter, to develop hypotheses, to drive design and kind of improvements. Figuring out what doesn't work and what works and how it can work better, all of these things. But it's really not a good thing just to design the pilot without designing kind of the scale up. But I think that's probably because it gives you a path. When you're hitting the targets, when you're doing well, or when you're problem solving, it gives you a path forward. And it's in no one's interest. It's not in the interest of patients, doctors, Pfizer, Sidekick, anyone, that we sort of limit the scope of, we should design with impact in mind. So I think kind of this thinking things through beyond the pilot before you start the pilot is probably the most important part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. Jürgen, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think especially when you are working in a big company like Pfizer, you have potentially started at a very early stage with doing some pilots of having a vision, but then seeing that if you don't think through for a longer term, that you fail. And I think most of the pharmaceutical companies have the experience with great ideas and then mobile apps with 10 users that only stay there for 6 or 12 months. And exactly this is what we also learned and that we are working on, to really have a roadmap in mind, looking at additional functionalities based on our experience, the user needs that we learn, but also the available technology, and really put this in a roadmap, like you develop a product, to really be able to enhance, learn, scale. And then I think when it comes to scaling, you have different directions where you can go then.
And I just briefly want to come also back to, because kind of this thing about objectives and understanding where kind of each partner in the partnership is coming from. I mean, many of the things that Rob and Jürgen talk about, I mean, focus on outcomes, enhancing reputation, and ultimately, I mean, for Pfizer and for Sidekick, it's also about delivering business goals. We impact many of these quite directly. But there's a lot of other things that are, I think, very operational in this context, which are also about measuring. It's kind of our ability to impact outcomes jointly. It depends on reach, activation, retention, engagement, all of these things. So it's also kind of the consumer angle to how well are we actually reaching patients and getting this into the hands of patients. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at and constantly tracking and monitoring.
And that's a fantastic way to end this. I mean, this has been an incredible conversation for how even in very tough times, you can still have an incredibly successful partnership. The two of you, Pfizer and Sidekick, are such fantastic models to be able to learn from and then implement. It's been just absolutely remarkable to learn from the three of you fully from beginning the partnership to in the partnership to post partnership, how to be successful. So thank you to all three of you. And Jürgen, I know that you had some really fantastic closing remarks. So please take it from here.
Yeah, I think what is really exciting is that we are just in the beginning of the journey, really to see how digital technologies and partnership approaches can make a difference to healthcare. And if I say to healthcare, it's kind of something, but we also need to think about it's us, it's our kids, it's our loved ones, and it's really exciting to work in this space with in partnership with Sidekick, but also with others coming soon, and really to drive and shape the future of healthcare together.
Definitely, yeah. It's such a fantastic note to end it on. Is this affects us? These are our lives. So thank you so much to all three of you. This has been just a fantastic fireside panel. Thank you to all three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.